This is the story of a boy named Dong-soo, who possesses extraordinary abilities. He was moving to the bus station while singing the song he composed. Meanwhile, a few people come and take him. They actually kidnap people and sell their organs. They take Dong-soo to a doctor and the surgeon takes out all organs from his body. Dong-soo was almost dead, but the strange thing was he was watching the doctor when he was doing all this. The doctor has taken his eyes out and put them on a tray and goes to talk on phone, but we see strange tentacles come out from Dong-soo's body and his body starts repairing. The doctor gets scared to see him as he puts his eyes back as he was finding his other eye. The doctor calls the goons, but Dong-soo escapes from there. After a few days, there was an incident. Someone has placed the statue of a lovely lady in the mid of the road. Everyone was watching it because she was lovely, but as they click its picture, the statue was bleeding. Here it discovered that wasn't a statue, but a human who was made a statue. And gradually this news spread everywhere and the police also arrived there. The inspector investigates it for a long time. They find out there are two symbols of P and N. Dong-soo is shown who has put a bandage on his eye and was spending his sad life. Suddenly, his eye starts aching at night when he was practicing his own song, and he sees the same symbol that was on that statue's body with his disappeared eye. He sees many other things, and it finds out that a man has Dong-soo's eye. That's why everything that man was doing was visible to Dong-soo. He goes to his job that was in a junkyard. Meanwhile, there were a few people who were beating his friend, and he tries to help his friend. He was beaten. Then one of them takes out a knife to end. Dong-soo fights with him, and during all this, the ear of poor Dong-soo cuts. It falls on the land, and seeing they all run from there. As they leave, Dong-soo picks up his ear and joins it back with his strange power. The gang who sells body organs was also searching for Dong-soo as they find out his body and organs are special IT repairs, no matter how badly you hurt it. And this type of body costs $1 billion on the market. After the fight, Dong-soo goes home where he was practicing his song, but he doesn't know the proper lyrics of the song, so he again listens to it and starts practicing. Meanwhile, he sees the vision of the man who has his eye, and he was also listening to his song, but Dong-soo's eye starts aching, so he decides to go there again, the place where he was taken, and will find his eye. The people who were behind him recognized him and tried to capture him. He was running while escaping from them, but a girl named Lee arrived and saved him. She says, "I know you are Dong-soo," and then places a cut on his leg with her knife, but it heals in a while, and Dong-soo escapes from Lee and runs from there. After it, a book is shown, Dong-soo's vision, in which there was written everything on how to end people and make their statue. It was clear the man having Dong-soo's eye in people and put their statue in the city. We see a girl who was going to her office while listening to Dong's song has gone viral, and she sees another statue in the city that was murdered recently. She tells all this to her friend named Mr. Jean, and his habits were not good, but she likes him. She sings Dong-soo's song in front of Mr. Jean and his eyes start aching. Dong-soo's eyes were also aching. Here, it was clear that the man has Dong-soo's eye was Mr. Jean, and he was ending the people in the city. It discovers that Dong-soo's eyes know his song. That's why whenever it plays, his eyes try to connect. He feels pain, and then one day he sees a word in his vision that was corpse art, and when he searches it on net, he found the one who is ending people in the city and making them statue is none other than Mr. Jean. Now to know this, he goes to Mr. Jin's friend the next day and recognizes her as he has seen her in his dream and asks her who was that man with whom she was yesterday evening. The girl doesn't tell him anything and leaves being scared because she feels he is flirting with her. Dong-soo doesn't know anything and don't even know how the killer looked. Dong-soo goes to an astrologer and tells him about the symbols he saw and about the dates on which the murders held. The astrologer tells these things are connected, and according to them, the tomorrow date is also resembling. Dong-soo understands there will be a murder tomorrow, but he doesn't know when and where. The girl who likes Mr. Jean was his friend moves to his house and wanders due to it. She finds the book in which the method of making the dead ones was written. She discovers there is Mr. Jean behind all the murders, and the next day, there was a statue in the city. Everyone goes to see it. There was the gang who was behind Dong-soo, and they see him. They try to catch him and were about to end him. Meanwhile, Lee arrives, and once again, she has saved Dong-soo. Even Dong-soo, I am a novelist and writing a novel named Connect, in which it is told about the superhumans, like how their body parts reattach even after being separated. Lee saved Dong-soo, so he thanks her and leaves while taking her number. On another side, Mr. Jean's friend is shown worried because she has discovered the truth, so he takes her to the roof with him and she says, "I know everything whom you have ended. I know about all the statues." The man whom she was telling all this, but his phone rings due to it. Mr. Jean sees him. He captures him and beats him brutally and then pushes him down the roof. Mr. Jin's friend gets faint to see all this. Meanwhile, her phone rings on which she has set Dong-soo's song. As the song rings, Dong-soo and Mr. Jin's eyes hurt due to what Dong-soo sees a vision. He sees that Mr. Jean has ended two people brutally, and seeing it, Dong-soo comes to Mr. Jin's office. Everyone there also discovers about the murder. There was a hustle and bustle, and the police also arrived, but Dong-soo has seen Jin's coat, so he chases him to the washroom. He still didn't see his face, and the police arrests Dong-soo because they feel he has done those murders. Dong-soo says, "Look, I haven't done any murder and the murderer is in the washroom," but none believes Dong-soo, and how can we forget Lee? She once again saves Dong-soo. Mr. Jean is shown worried in the office because he was thinking there was none except for them on the roof, and his eye hurts when he was listening to Dong-su's song. He understands that his eye is the root of all problems. That is transplanted, which means the person having the other eye can see everything Mr. Jean is doing. One day, Dong-su takes Lee to his home and tells her everything and starts from his childhood. He tells how he fell from a tree and his leg broke, but it became fine automatically, due to which his all friends called him monster. My family also left me, and also tells her about the night when a few people kidnapped him. They taken out his eye, which now Mr. Jean had, and he is the one ending everyone in the city, and I want him to be arrested, but I don't know anything about him. Lee becomes surprised to hear his, and says, don't be worried, I will support you, and makes him wear glasses, while saying now none will make fun of you. The people will not recognize you, but when they go to take something from the market, there were his posters, and the police was in search of him, but suddenly, his eye starts hurting. He sees Mr. Jean was saying to him while making his picture to stay away, otherwise you will be ended. He discovered that the man whose eye transplanted to him is none other than Dong-su. He also finds out about the next happening murder. At night, Dong-su meets a man when he moves out to find Mr. Jean. He was singing his song, and hearing that, his eye starts aching, and he sees Mr. Jean the next moment. He chases him to capture him, and the police also arrived, who arrest Dong-su, and he was trapped badly. He can't tell that he sees visions that Mr. Jean is behind all murders now. He was beaten badly in jail, but Dong-su says, I am not a murderer, I know who is the murderer. The inspector takes him to the roof. Hearing this, and Dong-su tells him everything that Mr. Jean has his eye. He has ended everyone. He shows the inspector his hand while breaking it, that joins automatically. The inspector was surprised to see all this, and Dong-su jumps from the roof to capture Mr. Jean because he knows that if he will get injured or get any wound, it will be fine. On another side, Jean moves to the doctor surgeon who transplanted Dong-su's eye. Here the past scene is shown when Mr. Jean came to the doctor and said that he need an eye. That's why the doctor put Dong-su's eye to him as an experiment. Mr. Jean also ends the doctor when he discovers this. The gang behind Dong-su comes to check and finds the doctor dead. They discover that Mr. Jean has ended the doctor. Lee and Dong-su were in search of the doctor. Lee sees a man who was behind Ding-su, sent by the gang who sells organs. Lee captures and ends him. On another side, Dong-su was happy because his song will be launched by his favorite singer. Meanwhile, Mr. Jean dials a number, and it was also visible to Dong-su. Here, they talk for a first time, and Dong-su asks, why are you ending people? He tells him that I am a cancer patient, and if I can't stay alive because of this disease, no humans can. Just see how I will give death to the people. Now the police got the dead body of the man ended by Lee. They also got evidence against Mr. Jean. Lee places a cut on her neck when she meets Dong-su, and it heals in a while. That means Lee was also connect, and says, maybe there are many other people like us. On the other side, Mr. Jean moves to the singer who called Dong-su while adopting Dong-su's get-up-hand. He kidnaps the singer while warning Dong-su that he will end the singer if he will not reach him till night. The gang who sells organs captures Dong-su, and Lee says, you leave, I will handle them. Lee faces those goons, but when a man places a cut on her face and it starts healing, they become happy to see this. There was just Dong-su, but now she is the same, and we can get a lot of money while selling their organs. Lee was dominant on them and runs from there. On another side, the police also got all evidences against Mr. Jean. They discover that Mr. Jean is wandering in Dong-su's get-up, and Dong-su also reaches the place where Jean called him. He knows Mr. Jean doesn't know fighting, and he ends people while getting a chance of their fear. Meanwhile, Mr. Jean leaves gas there due to it. Dong-su gets faint, and he takes him with him. Lee also went to a monster and says, now it is the time for you to wake up. It was also like Dong-su and Lee, and takes him with her. Jean also takes Dong-su to the place he kept the singer. The doctor's body was also hanged, and he has ended him and soon will make him a statue. Seeing this condition of the singer, Dong-su apologizes to him. Jean says, I am cancer patient and will die soon, so I will use Dong-su's body and will transplant his brain in my body. The body will be of Dong-su, but the brain will be mine. He cuts Dong-su's finger and shows it to the singer, and then lock them in a freezer due to it. The singer dies, and Dong-su becomes furious at it. He was free now and beats Mr. Jean a lot while coming out. Lee also reaches there with the monster, and Jean discovers Lee is connect. Then he attacks her, but Dong-su comes and beats him a lot, and Jean was continuously shooting Dong-su. He was getting fine, and he also has snatched his eye from Jean and was about to end him. Meanwhile, the police inspector arrives and forbids him to do this. He promises him to remove his record. He says, you should start your life. Lee and Dong-su feel everything has become fine. They were leaving, but they see many military helicopters because they also discover about Connect, and they seize them. What will be the next chapter? What will the military do to them? We will find it out in season 2. Here, story of season 1 ends.